Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about OpenAI's Batch API module, a method which is going to save 50% of your cost when working with huge datasets. If you have ever used OpenAI's website to manually upload your batch files, you know how tedious the process is. But don't worry. In today's video, we are going to completely automate it and we are going to seamlessly run all these batches without any manual intervention. Let's get started. Before we get into the code implementation, let's try to have a basic intuition using this simple diagram. Now we have a Wikipedia dataset with 1000 articles which we would like to batch process. The first step is to divide these articles into different batches. As shown in the diagram, we have divided the entire corpus into 5 batches and each batch contains 200 articles. The reason for choosing 200 as the article count is because OpenAI has a rate limit, and when we upload a batch, we need to make sure the overall tokens which is being sent to OpenAI does not cross the rate limit. Now, once we have 5 different batches, we have 2 options. Either to upload these batches using OpenAI website or make API calls and automate this process. Remember, we cannot upload all 5 batch files at once, because if we try to upload all 5 at once, we will eventually cross the overall token limit imposed by OpenAI. Now, if we are using OpenAI's website, then we need to take this first batch, upload it to OpenAI, wait for it to complete the process. Once we have the result, then upload the second batch, and so on and so forth. This is so tedious because every time we have to constantly wait for the execution to complete, and we never know when these batches will be scheduled. So in this automation, we are going to write a code which will mimic this process in the sense, first, we will upload a batch to OpenAI endpoint using OpenAI SDK. Now, once it is uploaded, we will wait for the batch to be processed. The batch can be in different status, say validating, in progress, or complete, or even maybe error. So we will constantly poll the OpenAI endpoint and see if the batch is being processed or not. If the batch has reached an error state, then we throw an error. If the batch is in progress, we just wait. If the batch is completed, then we download the result and save it in the folder. Once the first batch is completed, we'll go ahead and post the next batch. The process is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to start with 1000 articles, divide them into 5 different batches. Imagine it like a queue with 5 different elements. We are going to take the first batch and we are going to write some code and upload this batch into OpenAI endpoint. Once it is successfully uploaded, we'll just poll the OpenAI endpoint. And as we discussed earlier, there are different statuses. If the status is in progress or validating, then we just wait. Say we have a constant wait of 30 seconds and we check it again until it moves to either success or error. If the status is an error, then we just log the details. Error may be due to many reasons, like say the endpoint is down or the details that we have sent is incorrect. In such case, we are going to log these details into a file. And if the status is success, then we are going to download the result, save it in a folder, and pick the next batch. And we pick the second batch now, perform the same process iteratively. Once all 5 batches are processed, then we are going to stop the execution. Okay, it's the time for implementation. Let's start with the first step. Step 1 is divide into batches. Okay, so I have already loaded the data set. Let's print it out. Okay, now we have to divide. Let's define a couple of variables. Say we are going to start with index 0 and we are going to end with 1000. We're going to process 1000 articles and our batch size is 200, right? So we have to process 1000 files using Batch API, and we want to divide these 1000 articles into 5 different batches, right? So let's quickly write a for loop for start in range of, we're going to do from start index till end index, and we're going to have the batch size, right, as the offset. Now our end is going to be start plus batch size, right? So batch size, right? So if I do, let's print start and end. Now it should be 0 to 200, 200 to 400, 400 to 600, and so on. We can pick the articles now. Articles equals dataset of, we're going to get it from train, and we're going to put a start index, we're going to put the end index, and we're going to take the text column, which is the actual article. Similarly, we have to pick the IDs. To do that, dataset of train, you take start and end, and then put ID column, right? So instead of printing just the index, let's print the length of articles, IDs, and length of articles. It should be 200. Now we have the first step done. Now let's write all these articles and IDs into a batch file. To do that, we need a prompt. This is the system prompt that we are using. The prompt has the instruction for performing the classification task, right? Now we have to create batches. To do that, let's create a method called create prompt, and we are going to invoke this create prompt inside our for loop, and hence let's have IDs, let's have articles, and let's have a file name, right? Now let's iterate for index comma article in enumerate of articles. Okay, OpenAI has a task format. Let's paste it down. So this is the task format. We have to provide a unique ID. In this case, we are going to provide IDs, right? And it's going to be IDs of the index. So it will pick the corresponding IDs. And the method that we are going to send is the post. And this is the default URL. We're going to use GPT-4o mini. The temperature is going to be 0.1. We want the result to be in JSON format. Here is the JSON format that we are specifying in our prompt. And we are going to send the system prompt, which is going to be this prompt. And the user prompt is going to be the actual article, right? As soon as this is done, we have to write it to a file. To do that, let's do with open of file name in write mode as FP, right? And let's fix the indentation. And we are going to write this to a file in a JSON format. To do that, let's add import JSON p.write json.dumps of task, because task is a dictionary and we want to save it as a string, and fp.write of \n. So we save it as a JSON-L file, right? That's it. Let's run this. This method is created, and we have to invoke this method here. Okay, we have the articles. Let's also add a step where we trim down these articles. So articles equals x dot split. We're going to split based on new line and pick only the first paragraph for x and articles, right? Now we have trimmed it down. We have to create a unique file name to save this batch. So it's going to be, say, articles from start to end .json, right? So when for the first batch is going to be articles 0 to 200, right? And then is going to be 200 to 400. So we'll get a unique file name, right? So we are going to invoke the create prompt method, right? We have to pass in the IDs. We already have the IDs. We have to pass in the articles. We have the 200 articles that we need to process inside this for loop, and we have to pass in the file name, right? And the file name is going to be the unique file name which we created, right? If everything is good, at the end of this loop, we should have 5 different files with this naming convention, and each file should contain 200 articles. Let's run this code. Okay, it's done. Let's go and check the results. This is the first file, article 0 to 200.jsnl. And here we can see it's a unique ID which we retrieve it from the dataset, and GPT-4 Omni, the model, and this is the system prompt. Let's scroll through the right. Okay, this is going to be a system prompt, and if we scroll through all the way towards the right, here is our user prompt, where each user prompt contains the article's content. Okay, we are good, and we are going to process to the next step, where as soon as we have created a file with 200 articles, we have to upload it to OpenAI.